Hello everyone, it's Linda Ockwell-Jenner here, co-founder of the Small Business Community Network with another SBCN Small Biz Perspectives. And this evening I'm delighted to have another special guest along, Mr. Dave Ockwell-Jenner, who happens to be the other co-founder of the Small Business Community Network.
That's right, I'm back.
You are. I'm sure I passed you earlier in our offices.
Yeah, I think so.
The last chat we had last week was really welcomed in the business community, because you know a lot more about what we should be doing in 29 and what we shouldn't be doing to make sure that our computers are up to date, that they're secure, that they're not going to crash. So I thought I'd invite you back tonight because you've been waffling on about PHP. And
yes, I have.
I'm likely to think that's a shopping voucher for me, but it's not, is it?
No, so yeah, I would certainly be happy to talk about my adventures with PHP. I guess we should probably start by explaining what PHP is for those that maybe have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes, please.
So PHP is essentially a programming language. It's a very widely used technology for building websites. I would say probably a very large proportion of the websites that you and I and everyone else visits, at some point there will be a component in there written in PHP. So things like Facebook, for example, quite famously was written in PHP. If you have a website running on WordPress, that's running on PHP. So it's almost, I don't want to say it's ubiquitous because there are many other technologies out there, but certainly it's one of the most popular technologies for building websites.
And when you say famously Facebook uses it, why is that a standout kind of thing?
Yeah, I think because at the time when Facebook was being put together, PHP was still, I don't want to say somewhat in its infancy because it's been around for a while, but it was, I think, always considered as a little bit of a toy language compared to some of the other options. And certainly at that same time, many other businesses were building their web applications on other technologies. And so I think when Facebook took the plunge and went with PHP, everyone sort of looked at them and like, how are you ever going to make something based on this kind of toy language? But because Facebook went in that direction, I think that's really helped mature that language. So now it stands somewhat more on a par with all the other languages that people use.
So what should I be doing? Anything with PHP, or can I leave that to you or me?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that the average person, you probably never come across PHP in your life. If you are, you're a sado like me, I guess. But it, as I said, if you have a WordPress website, if you have a website running on a content platform called Drupal or Joomla, actually, no, maybe not so much in the case of Joomla, but if you have some of these major content platforms, they will be running on top of this PHP. So you, as an owner or a manager of your website, you may not realize it, but your technology is running on top of this PHP stuff. So where it becomes sort of interesting is figuring out, what do you need to do with this PHP? I think we're all used to updating our own computers, right? Every couple of weeks there are updates. I've got to install updates. Must update.
I don't remember doing any of that.
Yeah, it's like the bane of computer using, right? It's like you sit down at the computer, you want to do something. Oh, I have to do updates, and as much as we hate them, they do serve a purpose in helping keep us secure. And the same thing is very true of PHP. So your WordPress needs updating every couple of weeks. So too does your PHP, which is something that usually your web hosting company takes care of, but not always. You maybe have to go ask them the question, what are you doing to do this? And so the reason we're having the conversation is because just recently there is a version of PHP, or a family of versions called PHP 5. They all became what they call end of life December 31st.
Oh.
So what that means is the people that build and maintain PHP, they will no longer provide security fixes for PHP 5 after December the 31st.
Oh.
So everybody has to move to a new version.
Now, what happens if they don't?
Well, I mean, if they don't, you certainly can, continue using PHP 5. It won't magically stop working on January the 1st. And I would suspect that, as we speak today on, what are we, January the 8th, 2019, there are probably tens of thousands of websites running on PHP 5 as we speak. It will continue to work. The problem is if hackers or security researchers find security issues in that software, it isn't going to get fixed. So the bad guys, the theory is the bad guys may already know of some of these weaknesses, and they've been waiting for this December 31st date to roll around, knowing that, okay, now I have a way of attacking all these websites, and nobody's going to go around and fix it for me. So, now might be the time to attack.
When you say attack, it sounds very kind of ferocious and nasty. So would I, for instance, because I do believe I have a WordPress site or two, would I know that somebody was attacking me as a lay person who knows really nothing other than how to switch the computer?
You probably you would never, I say you would never know. If the attackers are really good, you would never know.
Yeah.
The typical way you find out is either the attackers aren't very good or someone else tells you that something shady is going on with your website. But mostly this is, I think, a fallacy that a lot of small businesses have is, they think, I just have a small website or I have a blog, nobody's interested in me, no one's going to attack me. And to some degree, that's true. They may not be attacking you, the small business, but you have something of value that the attacker wants.
Yeah.
You have a server on the internet. That's all they need. So, let's say we take your blog as an example. I may not want to attack Linda Ockwell-Jenner, but I might want to have control of Linda Ockwell-Jenner's web server computer and use that to spam everyone in the world. Or,
that's not good.
Exactly. So people quite often will try and take over websites, either for the purposes of spamming or over the last, I would say, maybe 8 months especially, what we've seen a lot of, actually, is what we call credential harvesting. So the attackers will put up a page and host it on your website, and that page looks like a standard login page for any number of common services on the internet. Yeah. The ones we see a lot of are Microsoft OneDrive and Google Drive. And then they spam an organization and say, hey, you need to download this invoice. It's at this address. They go there. It looks like a login page. And so the unsuspecting end user types in their username and password. Now the attacker has their username and password.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen to us because my IT person's amazing.
Well, I mean, this is sort of why we're having the conversation. So, over the Christmas period, yes, a number of properties that we operate on the internet all run PHP. We did have a number of them that were on PHP 5, so we did have to get them moved off onto something newer by December 31st. And this is sort of where we have a phrase, I guess, in the IT space called technical debt. So the idea is that as you accumulate more and more technology, so you accumulate this debt. And eventually, that debt needs to be paid off. So in our case, over the holidays, there was quite a few hours of migrating all of these things onto the new technology.
Which meant that we couldn't drink much, could we? We had to put the alcohol outside and wait for
I wouldn't say that. Some of my best work has come with maybe half a glass of whiskey in front of me.
And Boddington's cures lots of ailments, doesn't it?
Yes, this interview is in no way sponsored by Boddington's. If I would like to, I would be more than happy.
Yes, because we do love Boddington's. No, seriously though, I'm so thankful I have you to put me on the right track, and a lot of people do have, I guess, IT professionals looking after them.
For sure.
Should we nudge our IT professional, or they are going to do this for us? That's what we're paying them for, isn't it?
Never hurts to ask, right? Never hurts to ask. The worst that can happen is they say, yeah, it's taken care of, stop bugging me, I'm busy. Brilliant answer, right? Not a problem. But on those rare occasions, you may come across someone that hasn't read this. I actually spoke with someone, I think it was back in November of last year now, and we happened to be talking about this particular PHP issue, and for whatever reason, they weren't aware of it. So, I mean, yeah, I think, as is the case with any of our IT providers, go ask them a question. Hey, I read this in the news. Can you tell me what we're doing to make sure we're safeguarded?
That's what I recommend as well. I mean, it's okay me having a website and all the things that goes with it, but I've got to be proactive and get the whip out and say, Dave, did you read this? Because you need to do this. Don't know what it is, but it looks important. As everybody knows by now, Dave and I work with a lot of small businesses locally. Dave works for a very large global organisation, and I think they'll be going through the same process, will they? Or would they just not have to do this? Don't they use PHP?
Yeah, virtually every company uses PHP whether they know it or not. Even in our organization, we've come across, individual departments that have, little websites that they've built to scratch a particular itch. Mm-hmm. I think, ironically, larger companies have a much tougher time than small businesses. So, in a larger organization, you typically find the pace of change is a lot slower. Mm-hmm. You might have, and I'll use a practical example, we've got a website that we've been working with where I am. Getting changes to that takes somewhere between 6 and 8 months. Now, a small business, they might be able to go to their web or their IT company and say, hey, this is what I need, turn it around in like a month or two. Yeah. But for a larger company, it's a lot of process. It's not just the technical part, but I need approvals, I need to schedule time to do this, all of that.
Yeah. But if you're not sure, just seek out.
Just ask.
Someone you know and trust, an IT professional, and make sure they come recommended, and you don't be hiring any hackers.
Absolutely.
Safe and secure. Well, Dave, I love being educated. We have some lovely chats, and I understand a little bit about it. Thank you for keeping me safe, and I hope everybody out there will share this and know that, they have to be proactive, and we'll invite you back, Dave, for another SBCN Small Biz Perspectives quite soon.
Would love to. Thank you.
Thank you.